everybody, I'm Tom Vasel, and today we're taking a look at 7 games here. Some quick reviews of these various games. There's a couple good ones in here, and well, we'll see about the rest. So I'm going to do them from the smallest to the largest game in size. Here we go. FTW, which stands for the win, says Freedom and Freeze. Freedom and Freeze is always trying experimental games. And so this feels like an experimental Uno of some sorts. Let me show you. In this game, there is a deck of cards that are just, they have different colors on them, but the colors don't matter. Just numbers 1 through 60. You'll use all the cards in a 5 to 6 player game. Fewer if you're playing with 2 to 3 players, use 1 through 36. You're going to deal the cards out. Everyone's going to have a hand of cards. And on your turn, you have 3 different actions. 1, you can play a card in the middle in this discard pile. And any card that's played on top of that in the future has to be higher than that number. So it's going to be kind of tricky. You can also play a card that's lower than the card in front of you, in front of yourself, like this. So I could play a lower card here, and when I do that, I then will go through the cards in this discard pile. I'll add one to my hand, and the rest go away so that the next person can start the discard pile with anything they want. So the card you play in front of you has to be lower than the top card of the pile, because in the future, I can play a card on top of this if I add this card to it. So I can say 6 plus 38. I can play that here, then this card is out of the game. And that's the rules of the game. You're just going to keep going around and doing that till one person has only 1 card remaining in their hand. At that point, everyone's going to take the highest card in their hand, subtract every other card in their hand from it. So if let's say I was down to 2 cards here, my score would be 31, 46 minus 15. Although if I had a whole pile of cards, I might end up with 0. You can't get negative. And then you add those scores together. Whoever has the higher score wins, or you can play multiple rounds. I do not like this game. I cannot figure. It's so light, first of all. There's only 3 rules, and yet the number of times I have to go, okay, listen. The card you put in front of you has to be smaller than the number that's out there. And then in the future, you can use that card to add to another card to put on out there. And whenever you put a card in front of you, you also take a card from the stack. Really, the game is get one big high card into your hand and then try to get rid of the rest of your cards from highest to lowest. And there's nothing else there to it. I've tried it. I've seen people do strategy. It feels like there's none. It feels like there's nothing in this game. I am just not impressed with this at all. So I give it a 5 out of 10. You might like it. I just didn't enjoy this one. That Sound game is a party game about, well, making sounds. That's kind of the game, but I'll show you how to play anyway. You're going to form various teams in this game. Each team gets some lifelines that are either you're going to have 2 steals and 2 uncuff me's. One person is the sound master. They're going to go first. They're going to roll a die. It's going to pick a category: action, incident, object, nature, or the P's. The P's are people, places, personas, whatever. You have 1 minute. You'll turn this over. You have to put your hands behind your back. You'll turn over the top card, French kissing, and you need to make a sound to get people to guess that. If they do, you go to the next one, which is flirting, or fencing, or fainting. Nature cards here: lion, or horse, or dragonfly, or desert. Object cards: chainsaw, cowbell, drowning for incident, or dog attack. The P's here, we have paramedic, or a model, or the Karate Kid, or gravedigger. You can only make sounds, although you can use a lifeline, uncuff me, to use your hands. You can use steal if you know one on someone else's team to take their card from them. If you guys guess the card correctly, you're going to get that many points at the end of a round. If you want to pass, you can, but you give a point to the other team. If you take your hands out from behind your back, you give a point to the other team. So you keep going until everyone's been the sound master once, and whoever has the most points is the winner. Well, there you go. You're going to like this or not. Do you like making sounds and getting people to guess them? It's really hard, actually. You don't realize how hard it is to make some sounds and not do any motions. A police chase. Woo, woo, woo. If you're playing with the guy from Police Academy, I'm sure he would be very good at this game. And I found that most people didn't enjoy this game because they just weren't good at it. And some cards, you draw a card and it's not that good, and the game's like, well, you can pass. But you give a point to the other team, so almost no one ever passes. And yes, you could argue and say, Well, just give them a point so you can get some other ones done. But then when you draw another one you don't know, that's even more frustrating. So just psychologically, people don't want to do that. It's okay at best. I don't really care for it. I give this one a 5 out of 10. If you like making sounds, it's interesting, but other games allow you to do sounds and do more things, like the great Time's Up. This one is not that great. Segongsa. Here is a little game from Korea in which you are going to be placing tiles and matching them to make gems. A pretty basic concept. Here's how it plays. In this game, players are going to have 2 tiles in their hand from a bag. These tiles are going to have different colored gems on them. There are 6 different colored gems. And on your turn, you'll draw a tile from the bag, and then you'll play one in front of you. Now, when you play them, you got to match a gem as you play it, but you're not going to be able to match every gem that you put out there. But what you're trying to do is you're trying to finish gems. So that's pretty much the game. You're just going to take turns pulling and putting out the gems. Ooh, I think I might get this yellow gem here. And then once you completely, that seems like a bad piece. We would have put that one there and this one here, because that one still leaves me with the purple one. Anyway, when you finish a gem, 2 things are going to happen. One, at the end of the game, you're going to get points. So this one is worth 2 points. Diamonds are worth 6 points, but there's way less of them in the deck. But every time you finish a gem, and that is a very sloppily built gem, you're going to draw a tile from these tiles in a pile over here. These are skill tiles, and do what it says. There are 3 types of them. This one lets you take a piece of jewelry from the bag and use it right away. This one lets you take 2 from the bag and use them right away. And then this one lets you steal someone else's jewel, but it has to be a jewel that's from a gem that hasn't been completed yet. So if it's part of a completed gem, you can't take it and use it right away. So that's it. You're just going to keep going until all the tiles from the bag have been pulled, and then whoever has the most points is the winner of the game. Segongsa is just, well, basic. It's not bad. It's not great. It's just basic. You're just drawing tiles and placing them. I give it a 6 out of 10. And I'll tell you, here's the thing. First of all, I really dislike the one tile that lets you pull a tile from somebody else's into your own. Sometimes it doesn't even work because no one has a tile you want. The pulling tiles from a bag is always better. But the fact that there's pull 2 tiles from the bag and pull 1, the 2 tiles is immensely better. The only really clever little thing about this game is that the small gems are easier to do, and you're like, well, why would I do them? They're 1 or 2 points, but they do give you those tiles. So I like that. But still, you're best off trying to get a diamond and a ruby or something like that. It's fine. It's a good way to pass the time, but nothing that I'll probably ever think about again. Alpaca! Look how cute this llama is. And this game is definitely leaning into that. I mean, when you play this game, you have a start player token here, which is just a big wooden llama. Aww. And the cards look cute. Let me show you. In this game, you're going to have 12 piles of cards, and there are many different cards in the game that can be used. You always play with 6 brown llamas, 4 white llamas, and you always play with the nobles, which are all the same but different pictures, and the snobs. Each player is going to start with a handful of cards, 12 cards, of puppies and fence building cards. You'll shuffle these and draw 5. On your turn, you can play a llama for the special ability on that llama. So, for example, this one just says draw 2 cards, and then you would draw 2 cards. You can also buy llamas. When you buy llamas, you'll use the money in your llamas, which your puppies have, and you can see all these also have money amounts that they give. But if you use them for the special ability, you don't get the money, so you have to choose. When you buy a llama, it goes to your discard pile. All the cards you play go to your discard pile, and you draw 5 more. When your draw pile runs out, you shuffle your discard pile, so these will start showing up in your deck. If nothing else, you can always grab a snob. Now, another thing you can do is you can build a fence with your fence cards. When you build a fence, you'll take one of these fence cards and put it in front of you, and you'll take a llama from your hand and put it behind a fence. You can no longer use that llama, but at the end of the game, they're going to be worth points. And some llamas that have blue on them will give you an ability when they're behind a fence. This one says, if I'm behind your fence, draw 6 cards at the end of every turn. Each fence can hold 2 llamas. Well, usually, these twins take up a whole fence. And every llama behind fences has to be different. When you have an 8th llama behind your fence, that ends the game, and everyone adds up their points, which is the same as the costs, on the llamas behind their fences. And whoever has the most points is the winner. Alpaca is what we call a deck building game, and you're building your own deck of cards, and there are a lot of them out there, and this is a more basic one. This one follows the idea of you're building a deck of cards, but you're also getting rid of them. Once you get rid of them, once you put the llamas in the pen, they no longer help you out. And that's some interesting stuff. It's been done before in other games. In fact, there's pretty much nothing in this game that's new other than that you have to play a card to put the alpaca in a pen, and that's what keeps me from loving the game. This is a 6 out of 10. It's cute, but there's two things I don't love about it. I think the artwork's great. I think the set of cards out there's a lot of cards that are not particularly interesting. And in a deck building game, all your cards need to be interesting. And two, that you need to draw the card to build the fence and the llama you need to put in it. And sometimes that just doesn't happen. You get one of those royalty cards and you want to put it under a fence, you need to draw them at the same time. And when you're down to your last fence card and it just doesn't happen, that can get a little frustrating. Other than that, though, I think it's a little one for kids. Families might enjoy it. For me, it was fine. Stacking Stuff, folks, is a kids version, sort of. It's called a patchwork game for 2 players. And it doesn't necessarily say it's for kids on here, even though it does say 6+ on the box. But that's definitely what this is. This is an easier version of the very popular game from Uwe Rosenberg called Patchwork. And if you have played Patchwork, then you already know how this game plays. If you haven't played Patchwork, well, watch this. You're going to put this board in the middle of the table, and the 2 players will put a piece here on the track. You're going to put these tiles around here in order, and this piece, this little truck, is going to go between this tile and the next tile clockwise. So each player is going to have a truck. So you have 2 trucks, and you'll just kind of open them up and play on this board here. Or you can play on the other side. It's up to you. When it's your turn, and we know whose turn it is because whoever's farther back, in this case it's Blue's turn. If Blue moves here, then Blue gets to go again. If Blue moves here, Blue's on top, they get to move again. So whoever's farther back is always going, or whoever's on top. You have 2 options. You can, if you want to, move directly to the space in front of the next player. So I can go 1, 2, 3, and simply get coins. That would give me 3 coins. Everyone starts with 5 coins, so you don't have to worry about that necessarily right away. Or you can buy a tile. When you buy a tile, you can move your truck to one of the next 3 pieces clockwise. So let's say I go to this tile here. This tile would cost me 6 coins. I pay the 6 coins. I'm going to put this into my truck. You can rotate, do whatever you want. You're trying to fill your truck completely. Once it's there, though, you can't move it. And you're also going to take a look at the time here, and that's how many spaces you move your piece. If you land on a box, you'll be able to take this box and place it in a space on your truck. This is the only way really to get single tiles. And if you pass a coin token here on the board, you will look at your truck, and so you'll look at all the coin symbols. So here we have 1, 2, 3, and that's how much income you're going to get. You get 3 more coins for passing those lines. And this continues on. Now, when we're down to 5 or less pieces here, because these pieces are going to go away, we're going to supplement them with more pieces, smaller blue pieces that get played, that will be put into the circle around here. And then we keep going until both players reach the finish line. At that point, you're going to count up all the coins that you have right still, and then you'll subtract 2 for each empty space on your truck board. Whoever has more points is the winner. This is an enjoyable 2-player game. I'd give this one a 7 out of 10. I don't love Patchwork as much as other people do, but I get the appeal of it. This one I like a lot because it works with kids. And there's some nuances to this game. Kids have to figure out, like, what tile do I take? This tile costs a lot of time. Do I want to take that? But it gives more income. And do I want to get ahead of the other person? Because you don't get as many turns when you move ahead, but you get those small little boxes to fill your truck. And the theme helps a lot. Moving furniture and squishing it in there. Even as an adult, I was amused by that because I have definitely played moving truck Jenga before. And so that's in here. It's a quick, simple game that offers some small choices, but they're pretty in-depth and deep. And to me, that makes it really great with kids. I really enjoy that concept of, I mean, really, if you think about it, you have 4 things. You can move forward and take money, or you can pick one of the 3 tiles in front of you. But that opens up a wealth of other options. If I move to this tile, I'm allowing you to buy that tile. But if I only move 1, that tile that's 5 away might be available for me next turn. And when I get the tiles, where do I put them in the thing? There's lots of games that do that, but I think it has a nice income, and there's just so many cool aspects to this game. So it's a neat one to check out with a fun theme. That's stacking stuff. The only thing that I might think is somewhat negative is in your first couple games, it's possible your kids will end up with a very low or negative score. So just keep that in mind. But otherwise, fun game. 16 is a tile game here from Korea that has been reprinted. This is an older game. I want to say it's like 7 or 8 years old. I never heard of it. And it is a very light game, but it uses those backlight tiles that I love so much. Let's see how it plays. There's tiles in each color from 1 to 16. Actually, there's 2 16s of each, and there's a few other tiles. These will be put into a bag and split between the players where they will put them behind a shield. So what's going to be happening here is on players' turns, you're going to be making lines in the middle of the table. We'll start with the ones of each of the color that's out there. And on your turn, you can play a single tile. So I could put this 8 here after 1. As long as it's higher, you can also play a series of tiles. So for example, I could play the 10, the 11, and the 12. The problem is you can't play anything that is lower. So once the 10, 11, 12 here are played, well, how are we going to play the 2 through 9? Well, there is one way to do that. If you play the 16 restart on a row, then the next tile can be any number. However, when you play the 16 end on any row, then nothing can be added to that row, not even the 16 restart. You can use scissors tiles if you have one of those to cut off a tile at the end of a row, so then that you can then play maybe a single number or a group of numbers like I just did there. And there is a trash can which will let you get rid of a whole pile of numbers if you want to from a row and then play more tiles at the end of that row. So this will keep going. If anyone gets rid of all the tiles behind their screen, they win the game. Otherwise, once everyone passes and can't play anymore, you'll add up the values of the numbers you have, and these, of course, are very expensive. I think they're 20 points each. And whoever has the least points is the winner. I was quite happy with this game. Very surprised at how much I enjoyed 16. 16 is, it's a really light game. It's kind of a shedding game where you're just trying to get rid of stuff, but there's just something fun and easygoing about it. This is the kind of game I would pull out at a family gathering. You guys mostly play dominoes or you mostly play Uno or whatever. Here's a game that offers some silly little choices as you put tiles out, and you can just put out one tile or you put out that big group, but that big group might mean I don't get to put out that one tile. When do I use that 16? That restarts everything. That 16 end is mean. The scissor tile lets me get rid of the end, but it's not... we had a blast playing this as a family. I really enjoyed playing this with the kids, and we played it over and over again. So it was a fun one to check out. Definitely not going to be for everybody. If you're a big, deep, heavy gamer, you're going to want to ignore this one. But as a family game to pull out, and the tiles are satisfying, and it's simple. The rules are a little hazy on mostly how to put out the ones. But other than that, it's really easy to jump into, and I like it a lot. That's 16. Archeologic here is a deduction style game, and there's a lot of these games coming out now. Here, the designer of this game also designed another very popular deduction game recently. Archeologic, though, you are trying to fill a little Tetris square in before everyone else does. Sort of. Let me show you. What people are doing in this game, they're trying to solve a puzzle. You have all these different pieces that need to fit into this square somehow. Now, obviously, they all fit, and it's going to leave 3 open spaces, but you need to find the correct way that they go in. So I'm trying to find here we go. Oh, that doesn't work either. There we go. Now they all fit in. But this may be the solution. It might not be. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out the solution. You also notice that there are these orange and pink spaces. These are called traps. And sometimes you might figure out a trap is at a location, and then that can help you. So, for example, if I know that these 2 traps are here, I'm pretty sure that this piece is the piece that goes there. So that's what these tokens are used for. So that is what you are trying to solve. Now let's talk about how you solve it. This here is a solution key. And you are going to be using this device here to figure out a solution. So I might, for example, say, is this piece in row D? The numbers are on one side, the rows on the other side. So I'd put this here. and I'm going to look and see if that is there at all. And it shows me that the purple, the orange trap piece of that is in D. And that's all the information I have. And so there's lots of information you can get here. There's traps, how many small pieces, how many large pieces are these pieces, the big pieces in the specific thing. But that is how you are going to solve it. You put this behind here, you put it to the letter or number that matches it, you spin the wheel to the one that you're checking, and then you'll look through these little holes to see what the solution, see what your answer is. This is how the game works here. On your turn, you are going to be asking about a specific row or column. Your piece is here, and whoever is the farthest one behind is going to go each time. You can spend a time to move this an extra spot if you want to, or you can spend 2 time to move it wherever you want to. And then the question that you ask, those different questions that are on the viewfinder, will cost you 1, 2, or 3 time. And that's it. At the end of your round, it moves to the next spot, and we continue on. And that's how you play the game. You're just going to be moving this and going until someone thinks they can get the answer, at which point they can look here or on the app to look at the solution and see if you're correct or not. If you're incorrect, well, you're out. But if you're correct, you've won the game. Now, I'm a huge fan of deduction games, and I'm giving this one a 6, but I want to explain why. Because first of all, the actual puzzle here about putting the pieces in, I love it. I love saying, okay, this piece is in this spot with 1 blue square. Okay, so you're moving things around and you're sitting there trying to move your pieces around. I put traps into different spots. And again, I use traps and all this terminology. Just basically, and you're sitting there trying to, in as few clues as possible, figure out this puzzle. And it's fun and interesting and it's great. 9 out of 10 for that part. The problem is, I dislike a couple things. The device that you use is so fiddly. I wish you could just push the sheet in and it would lock in place, but you have to hold it while turning something. And I found that to be kind of a pain, and seeing through those holes is not particularly easy. That's a minor complaint, but it's kind of a complaint, right? And you also have to go out of your way to not accidentally see the wrong things. You got to rotate first to the row or column thing and then put things in place. But it's just fiddly-ish. But the bigger problem I have with the game is just that whole thing in the middle. I just dislike it. That whole whatever, it's on row B, but I want to use row D. Well, fine, use 2 time. Well, 2 times a big deal because I'm going to get fewer turns than other people. While if it happens to be I need to look at row D, I just found that part of the game to me was random. Why even have that there? Just let me pick any row or column I want, and then you can make the questions a certain amount of time because some questions give you more information than the others. That doesn't bother me, but it's that fact that I'm like, ooh, it's at 1. The next one is B. So on my turn, it's going to be B. And the person before me goes, I'm going to spend 2 time and move it over here. I'm like, well, I don't want that. So now I'm forced to spend time to go somewhere else. But if it is at the spot you want, you don't have to spend any time. So I just dislike those 2 things. And that brought the game down for me. Otherwise, I would have liked it. Also, the app was, I was excited. Like, the app, I can just put my clues in the app. I don't have to use this device. No, it's just basically a solution. I mean, they might have fixed it since I played the game, but it was just basically a solution generator. Oh, okay. But it is kind of fun. I think I would mostly play it solo and forget everything else in there, and then I would enjoy the game more. But as a game for multiple players, which this is, I just found those things to kind of dull it, so it just becomes a 6 for me rather than something higher. So that's Archeologic. And that is 6 games there. 7 games. I can't even count today. I hope you enjoy these. If you would like to see these short reviews on their own, you can always check out Dice Tower Encore. That's a channel that we have here, which is just the short reviews of games. And we put one up every day. So check it out. Until next time, I'm Tom Vasel, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.